are competing in, we are repeating it, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Okay, welcome to this little talk about femininity and Women's Circle. Welcome Anna and welcome Mette.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Nice to see you here. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the start of this. I went to this, I think you went there as well, to this, it was a speech or a day which was called the Yes Day.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and
yes.
that was a day for women in the Ideon at Lund University.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it was the CEO of the Ideon Innovation that has, she found out when she started her job there as a CEO that 95% of all the money went to male companies, male startups. And the answer she got when she asked about that was that well, there are no women who wants to do startups.
What?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was a very interesting answer, I think. And what we were speaking about there, and which I thought would be interesting here as well, is that are we approaching people in a different way as female, or how is it? How do we do?
Yes. Maybe the language is, and the body language is very different, I think.
Yeah, and the semantics maybe, and the rhetoric, like we are using different words and different ways of approaching. What do you think about that, Anna?
I don't know. It's really interesting question. I'm thinking of what's coming to my mind is women leadership and male leadership, and how is it different? Is it different?
Yeah.
And you were talking about startups. Are there more male startups than women startups? I don't know.
No.
Do we know this, or is it just a circumstance, or?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That maybe is it more the approach? It's about the approach, that we have different kind of approach. I mean, we can be sure about that. It's not that we don't have any female entrepreneurs. Of course we have.
Absolutely.
So I mean, but to reach what she was asking there, to reach them, do we use the wrong language?
That
and
is
what
interesting.
and what is the right language? I mean, I don't know. I thought we could be interesting to.
Yeah, let's explore that.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's
Let's. I have an idea. Let's start to explore what is femininity and what is masculinity.
Yeah.
So we can start with that.
Yeah.
My perspective, my understanding of, my interpretation of femininity, the feminine energy, is more the caring energy, the listening energy, just to make sure that both men and women have
Of course.
the male and feminine energy.
Yes.
So it's not that this is only for women, but what one is calling the feminine energy is that the caring, the listening, and to recap and to sort of sit down and rest.
And maybe I think also like the time is different.
Yeah.
I think I have this book which is called Feminine Power by Rebecca Campbell, and I haven't really read it because I thought that would be interesting to have when we start this circle, and it was like something about stress, and I can see if I can find it, and yeah.
Yeah, because my perception of this is that women have different cycles in their bodies than men do. Men are in a 24-hour cycle, while as women are in a monthly cycle with the menstruation. And when you are in the menstruation, you have the time where you need to go into rest just before you menstruate and while you're menstruating. You need to have more rest, you need to care more for yourself, you need to go into quietness. And while as coming out of the menstruation into your fertile circle, you become very energetic. You have so much energy. And when women push themselves to live in a linear environment, as we do in the corporate world, we don't care about our own well-being as to look into our natural circle. So I think that women tend to reach burnout because they override their own circles.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. It's an interesting aspect. Yeah.
And that is a different conversation than the one you started with. But I think that giving grants to startup companies and for to go into a startup company, there's a very linear journey for a startup company. If you're going to go with the as a startup company, you have the bootstrap camps, and you have the Vinnova, we have Almi, but they have started now to require to actually have a quota. To give grants that you have like an equally divided male female quotation within the companies. But I think also that it is very linear.
It's about the motion. I think so too. That's very important that we have to actually how do you say, alltså tillåta, permit more another way of being. And I think I just read here, joy instead of stress. I think that's also very, like, stress is something which is not connected to femininity. I think it's so far away from it, and how can we live without that? And I also think that sexuality is important when we speak about femininity, because I think like acting and allowing yourself to be a sexual person. And I have contact with a woman. She has a company, and she's talking about a lot about the jewel, which is actually connecting yourself to your sexual organs and the power which is in the sexuality, and that you can not just use it to be a person who, I mean, to have intercourse, but to actually use this power as something that you have in your life. And how can you be using this power in your life? I think that's very interesting.
Yes, it is.
So that is
That
is the whole grounding process, I think.
It is, isn't it?
I don't know, since I'm not a man, but it's the grounding process is actually to go down into your in Japanese it's the hara. It's just like 4 fingers below your navel. And then the middle of your body.
In yoga too, I think. It's a very important place.
It is.
So that's where the power
where the power comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have to be aware of that power.
Yes.
And use it.
Absolutely.
Use it.
And that, and as you found here in the book, joy instead of stress. But I think in that flow motion, to have that part of also the feminine energies, as if you would divide between male and feminine energies, and again, both men and women have both, is the playfulness. So the playfulness is in the feminine energy. And I heard at P1 radio station, it was a talk about the difference how men and women breathe under stress. And so when you see a man,
Breathing is really central. Yes.
yeah, you see a man coming into stress, you see him start sweating, he would breathe more heavily, his face would go a little bit reddish, and because he will accelerate to go into fight or flight,
Yes.
as being like thousand years back.
Yeah.
While as women, we stop breathing. We would
Yes,
sit
we would-
and sit like a little rabbit, like
Yes. Playing dead.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we would, because we will have our little babies around us, and we can't run. We're not going to fight, so we stop breathing. And
Freeze.
we freeze and we go cold. And this is so interesting also because we are different.
Yes.
On the, yeah.
Okay. I think about rabbit, you said, and the animal, other creature in the nature. So this hunting animal, bytesdjur.
Yeah.
I don't know the
Prey.
The prey. yeah.
prey.
Yeah.
They are feminine
Yeah.
in a way, and
Like the deer.
yes, and
The lion is more like a
yes.
yes.
But that is all, I think that is actually all about our nervous system. How, and this is like the very old things in our, how do you say that?
How we wired.
Yeah, how we wired, and this part of the very old, isn't it? Part of the brain.
Reptile brain.
Yeah, the
Yes,
reptile
reptile
brain.
brain,
So
yes.
it's all connected to that. So I guess that's why it's so close to how animals react. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah, that's very interesting because it's also. I went to this course about the nervous system, and the teacher, she's saying that like when you feel these kind of stressy moments, to actually to try to get out of it is to focus on something else, like focus on the flowers maybe.
Yeah.
If you have a person that is stressing you, you can focus on something else, and you can be there, and you can start to breathe there, and when you return to the stressing thing, that will, yeah, you will be in another.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
So do you think we can actually, how can we, I think this is exciting because this is the first time we meet to discuss these kind of things. We haven't really prepared for it. And, but still we got, me and another woman, we got this idea that we could start to do it like this, to explore together what is femininity, what is it, and how can we, how does it, when is it happening? I don't know, that's a really stupid thing to say, but I thought more that how does that affect us in relations to others, and maybe even more, how do we want to have it? Like, I think I have this feeling that being in organizations that are very much like that, you have to, you are so solution orientated, and maybe there is another way to do things than just being like that. Maybe we have solved things in a different way, and how can we actually get this different time way of thinking about time, thinking about our bodies, affect us in the way we work to get less stress.
Yeah.
I think that's it, like I suddenly now remember I listened to a woman who she started a magazine in Sweden called Kvinnosyn. It was many years ago, and one thing she said that she had found out that like for meetings, like if men, you have this or
Agenda.
agenda, the agenda for the meeting, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and men would do like that was her own experience of it. That we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then women would see that 1, 2, 3. Okay, but maybe 6 and 7 is like the same as 2. And you see the coffee. Couldn't we start with the coffee? We can drink coffee while we have the meeting, and everything was kind of like this. And still, the result of the meeting was the same. It wasn't a different way of solving. It was another way of solving the problems. So, but it was just like doing it more in relation than in just strict orders. And it could be, I mean, it's more like we talk about masculinity and femininity. I think it's more, in that, not maybe, I don't want to say that men are like that or women are like that, but it was interesting.
Yes.
I read. I think that I have a book that I was reading. I can't remember the title. I'll come up with it later. But where the female way of connecting to one another has been looked up on as gossiping.
Oh, okay.
And while as she called it, she relabeled it to interknitting.
Yeah, that's a nice word.
Interknitting is like networking and sort of like knitting us together. Because when I say, "Oh, how's your dog now?" And your mom, is she okay? Your daughter, and that is the way of how we show each other that I care for you. I know I know that what you are, you know,
What is important for you.
and then after having checked in on all these like little details, then you can start to, and she was like putting this into a corporate setting. And this was really interesting. It's not like, it's not gossiping, but this is a female way of getting to know, this is your check-in. How are you? Where are you at?
Creating relations and building relations, I think. You build it because you learn to know a little bit about that person and that person, that person.
So sharing that, it's like, I have heard that Metta's dog is, and I'm saying this to you.
It's not gossiping.
No, it's like me showing to Eva that we need to give you more attention and care.
And it's also an interest in that person, starting an interest in that person. Yeah.
I thought that in relation to what you said with the agenda, that I think that women have, coming back to what you started with, like we have a different language. Yes, I think we do have a different language. And I think it's important to realize that but some women might be very sort of into the agenda as well, and some men are very much into the...
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's also that, I mean, you talk about that many women that succeed in this patriarchal system, they need to be have a more masculine way of leading and so on, because otherwise that wouldn't be accepted. But I think it would be interesting to see how can we find another way, and to spread the word about being in another way is not being professional. It's being professional, but being professional in another way.
Yes, because you said about those women leaders, they all are often more men, more masculine than men are, because it's not natural for them to be them. They have learned it by
I think maybe that's what you need to be, thinking that this is the way you need to be accepted. And it could be also because it's, I mean, I think in many, you can see now, and this interesting that is happening in the world now, like you see when the EU what is she called, Leiden, she's called, isn't she? The leader of the European Union, when she came to China, and they didn't even give her a chair to sit on.
Oh, is it true?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And there are some other. That was Xi Jinping, and I think there is another. I think Putin did something like that as well. So it's like this very macho way of being. It's also a strong because there are quite a few strong women right now in leadership. So that's interesting.
What's coming to my mind when you talk about that is what you said earlier with sexuality, and for women, I think, not to look so much out towards the masculinity in the world and the linear, but rather to look within yourself and to find your own rooting and your grounding, to be that grounding.
And believe in it and trust it and feel
and
it.
sense it and just get into your own rooting and your own power, because then if you feel powerful within, I think that you are, that is what you exude to the world.
Yeah, that's really true. I think that's very true.
And I think that, as I was saying before with the menstrual circle, in my life I have been like plowing and not looking into my cycle, and I've been sort of just like linear and like a so I'm feeling I have pain, a headache, whatever. It's like, okay, 2 more aspirins and
I think most women, if you, I think all my former colleagues and so on could say the same thing. I mean,
I hope
bleeding a lot in wrong situations, and I mean all these things that you have been doing, and accidents that you have been actually causing because you were in, search for tampons at the wrong. I mean, haven't we?
Yes.
I mean, that's. It's and we don't really talk about it, and it's also like the same with the menopause, which is also something that you don't. It affects us a lot, and I have a theory which is not at all research based, but that
of course it is.
for myself. But I think many women that hit the wall and get sick with stress. It's when they get into the menopause, because you are very fragile as a woman, as your body, because the hormones are like in the teenage.
Absolutely.
So I think it's, if you can see among yourself, when you see women who have, it's not at all. Of course, it's not only that, but it's.
But we are so poorly prepared for this as well. We are.
Yes, because we don't talk about it, so we are not prepared for it.
And I'm thinking that we need to involve men in this as well. This is so important, because, I mean, in my life, in your life, we have sons, we have husbands, brothers, some of us still have fathers that are directly affected, and colleagues of of our well-being.
But I think it's very important that we actually start, as you said, with yourself. And I have this need we start a women's circle, and it's us. And I want this to be like an embryo, like a little egg that is going to grow and get bigger, and that we protect it with our female power, and to see what can we together gather. And when we are kind of ready with this, and this child is wanting to be born, we can feed it out into the world
And spread it to.
But I think you have to protect it when it's little, and if it's just an egg, you need to protect it.
Fragile.
Yes, like with all ideas, I think that you have to. I think to protect it, like ideas. When you have ideas, I think if you start to talk about them to the world too early, they are getting
diluted.
They lose their essence. They lose their energy, and to keep the energy, I think that's important. And that's also, I think, I don't know if that's a feminine way of doing it, but it's nice with this metaphor with the child, isn't it? Yeah. And we have so much power in our wombs. I think it's like the power we have we need to.
I think that power, we are so taught in the Western society to be in our heads.
Yeah,
We are
yeah.
so heady. And that is the sky is the masculine energy, and the earth is the feminine energy. And I think as human beings, not just as women, men also, we need to root ourselves,
Yes,
and we
yes.
need to trust our instincts and come into this playfulness and get out of the agenda a little bit.
Yeah, and the intuition
And have fun.
yeah, that's really true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And when you have fun, you can't be stressful.
No.
No.
And why are you stressed? Why? Because if you ask yourself, if you're stressed, someone told me this a few days back. If you're stressed and about to go to sleep, and if you ask yourself, "Am I in danger?" If you have this racing heart or a little bit of anxiety or something like that, am I in danger? It's like, no tigers around, no wild wolves. Am I in danger?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, really likes, no, not really.
Not really. I mean,
And
my
saying
bad.
that is really earthing yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word in English, but it's, I mean,
Yes.
yeah, I think it's really nice because it's the elements are so important, I think, and feeling this earthy energy. Yeah. Yeah, maybe, and you can paint it and you can,
Yes.
We'll see what we,
Paint it and play it. I think
Yeah.
both
Ah.
of paint, play,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
write is very good for
Yes.
dance it.
dance it. Yes.
Did you try that dancing?
Yes, I did. I did. It was very, very good and very interesting.
That's-
Where
discovered
was your
something.
energy when you were dancing?
I think it was here.
Yeah. I think we need to be there more.
Yeah, I did this workshop with a woman I know who she was she lived on Hawaii for a while and with the natives in Hawaii, and she went to their learning, or how do you say that, with a native woman to learn about their traditions and their dances and so on. So I went to this dance workshop with her, and that was really it was interesting and fantastic to dance and to feel the you could really, she had different kind of music she was using and different kinds of things happening
Wow.
depending on what kind of music it was. And she was saying things before, and we did some, talking and chanting and so on. It was interesting.
I think that getting into our bodies and feeling our own energy and connecting to that energy,
Connecting is so
that is the route to have your own, to develop your own language and not trying to copy and be in somewhere it's like in a corporate world, and because I don't believe that is of course there are beautiful companies where they
yes,
have,
of course.
but in the traditional linear corporate world with the hierarchies, and that is not promoting well-being.
No.
So I think that
But
we
it's
can learn from that.
Yes, and it's interesting that we actually experience that the language that is not there. So what is the language? So I think that's what we are going to explore. How is this language, and how can it be that it's not? We don't know it because
that's
we
so
do
very
know it.
interesting.
We know it, but I mean
We
maybe,
haven't
but
word
not
for
in
it.
that
We haven't word
context.
for it, maybe.
No, maybe, yeah, exactly. We know it maybe in other senses than in
words.
in
yes.
words.
Yeah, and we need to connect with it.
Yes.
And when we connect to it within ourselves, we can express it outward, I think. So if we start with ourselves,
Yeah.
what is it then we need to express?
Yeah, I think we have to put a lot of questions. Yeah,
To explore.
and to explore and investigate. languages and different kind of languages. Yeah.
But maybe if we plant the seed today,
Yeah.
maybe we got 9 months.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's a nice thought.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
And explore it and feel it and let it grow.
Yeah. So maybe that's what we are going to do. Yeah, that's nice. Today we have planted a seed.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm looking at all the flowers.
And the
around
flowers.
us.
It's nice to be here among all these flowers. Yes. And yeah, I guess well, thank you. I think that's nice last words from us today, isn't it?
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming here today, and
Thank you
I'm
for
very
inviting us.
looking
Yes,
at
thank
so much into the future, what this process is going to have in it, what kind of child we are going to give birth to. Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much, Anna, and thank you very much, Mette.
Thank you very much, Eva.
Thank you.
We are creating the world we're now living in. We are competing in. We are repeating in. We are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.